Welcome. So I have a lot of questions about how to prevent damping off. And so now I've been using this Jiffy Mix. I bought it and I tried it out, and I still had some problems with damping off. And even though here's my setup generally. So I have like these trays, and I bottom water. I put sprinkle cinnamon, I use neem oil, and I still have some problems with damping off, even though I let it dry on the surface. So I did a trial about this. So this is what I'm going to be doing. Put that over here. So within here, I'm going to sterilize a medium. This is going to be my peat moss mix, and then this is going to be my coconut mix. And I've already put boiling water. The disadvantage of boiling water versus using the oven is that I was only able to get to 160 degrees. So this is cooled off here. So, but you can take a look here. So this is my peat moss mix. Okay, I'm letting that kind of cool off. And this is going to be my coconut coir mix. And so I'm going to show you the design that I have. So here's the base, coconut, peat moss. I'm going to use also a vermiculite as a base, using it for a actual root medium. And then over here, I'm going to actually use a surface medium, where after I put the seed in, I'm going to put a layer on of either sand, vermiculite, perlite, and then a control. So I'm going to have coconut with sand on it, coconut with vermiculite on top, and coconut with perlite, and comparing all these different combinations on this tray, and then we'll see what grows. Okay, I've already had these labeled here. This is perlite, peat plus perlite, just peat, vermiculite, and sand, and so on and so forth. And so we'll see what happens. Okay. All right, so here's my mix here. So I have my base already in. This is going to be coconut coir. This is going to be a Jiffy Mix, which is the perlite. Does have a little bit of vermiculite in it, and this is just the pure going to be vermiculite. And so I'm going to seed on top of these. I'm going to seed here, and then I'm going to lay a thin layer of either over here. It's going to be vermiculite on the coconut coir and perlite, sand on all different types, and the perlite. And then on top of that, I'm going to put cinnamon on top of that to top it off, and then I'm going to put it underneath lights. So we're going to give it a try. And we're going to be growing here. It's going to be lettuce, the romaine type, and so we'll see. All right. Okay, so here's the final product. And so we covered everything. I already put the seeds in there. I put sand, vermiculite, and perlite, and on the different bases. And then we had our controls as well. So I'm going to put these under, I'm going to bottom water it here, and then I already put neem oil and then cinnamon on top of it. So they're all about the same, and then we'll come back and see what the results show. So I'll have to admit that I ran into some problems, and so currently you see these plants growing quite fine, but actually the backstory is that none of the seeds actually planted germinated. And so it was 2 weeks, nothing grew, and so what I ended up doing to try, so I tried to solve this experiment, and I'll show you what I did. So I did a different way of actually germinating seed. So I took instead of actually putting them in straight soil, I put seeds inside some water, let them germinate. In fact, you can probably see one right there. And then once they germinated, then I actually put them inside the mix. And so now here's some limitations to this way that I did it. So the strongest seedlings, I didn't randomize them completely. I did put the strongest seeds that germinated first in these areas, and so you really cannot draw conclusions from simply looking at how tall the romaine lettuce is. And so what I'll do is repeat the experiment at some point. But what I did notice is that if you look closely, so you'll see actually some fungus in this peat mix. So straight peat performed the worst in terms of trying to avoid fungus. And you'll see that, I tried cinnamon, but despite that, it didn't grow. And in fact, you can probably see one seedling that's kind of suffering a little bit. And so
And the other things that I noticed is that the peat, straight peat did the worst, but the other, so this is peat with some type. So this is I think perlite. This is going to be peat with vermiculite, and this is peat with sand, and so sand on the top. And those did fine, even though that, I mean, this is actually quite dry on the top, even though I watered this not too long ago. So I think that any of these coverings, so if you use peat mix, like a Jiffy mix or whatever, be sure to put on it some type of surface material. Because if you don't, so like I would put, just for practical purposes, I found that the sand was the easiest to work with. So like I poked a hole with a pin, and then I put the seed inside here, and the sand was easiest to manipulate. Whereas the vermiculite and the perlite was the hardest surface material to manipulate. And so if you use peat for a starting mix, even though that I try to sterilize it as much as I could, and even despite all the measures I made, there's still fungus growing in those. But if you put some type of surface medium on top of it, you really do reduce the risk of that. Now, so the question is, well, how did the coconut go? So coconut by itself, now I know that these look small, and again, you can't draw any conclusions just from that. But the coconuts, I didn't see any fungus at all on the coconut, just straight coconut. Here is coconut with perlite. This is coconut with vermiculite, and this is coconut with sand. And none of these actual combinations had any problems with fungus. And so those are things. Now, I found it kind of interesting is if you look over here, so this here is vermiculite base. This is a vermiculite base with sand on top of it, and it had this weird black stuff growing on top of it. I don't know what it is. It's some kind of fungus, and you look over here, same thing. And now this one is a perlite base with vermiculite, and this one here is just straight vermiculite. And all those had some fungal issues. I think they're fungus. I don't know what it is. And so now, so in conclusion, yeah, my favorite is going to end up being for prevention of fungus growing is going to be some just coconut by itself, because it's probably the easiest thing to do. It maybe if I was going to do some type of top surface just to make double sure, I'd probably put the sand on top because it's just easiest to manipulate, and it's dry on the surface. It keeps the water moisture on the bottom wet, but it keeps this dry on top. And so and you can kind of tell from here, this is wet. You can feel it, and it's wet, and over here it's actually dry. Now this is what you want to prevent. So I've been growing cabbage in this, and if you have fungus growing, you start growing and it's gonna die out. And so really, I think that making all measures to help prevent that. You can actually see these are my other plants that I have just for fun. I'm experimenting something different. But you can see this one, this fungus is really taken over, and this plant is not doing well at all. And so whereas, like this cabbage plant did well and survived it, but most of the cabbage plants here did not. And so you really have to be careful about getting fungus on these things. And so if I have plenty of time, I think I might do coconut with like a sand surface on it. But if I'm really in a crunch for time, and I'm probably going to use just coconut instead. And sorry, Jiffy. Let's see, where's that? Jiffy's going to end up being the loser in this, and the coconut core is going to be the winner. So I hope this is a good, helpful video.